this video. This video should be a short one. And it is about that this, for me, is additional therapy. That's what I was saying in the last video. It's therapy for me because spending 45 minutes with a therapist has not been enough. It's not been enough because this has been 22 years. On YouTube especially, there are so many people telling us what to do, what not to do, how to, act when you're stuck in a relationship with a narcissist, and they all tell everybody what to do. But if you have really had one crawl into your head, one's plural, into your head and do what got done to me, and I guess my situation is different because I was targeted by more than one group, more than one, and they were professionals. They weren't like the neighbor down the road gaslighting me with her immature bullshit. It was very serious. But during the process, one was using me as research for his and I think he just dreamed it up along the way. Like, how is he going to turn what he's been doing to me in particular into something? And it became research on violence. And he used me as a primary. I doubt it. I was the sole one, but I was used as a primary for destroying. So he could follow me while playing the role of the victim himself, accusing me of playing the role of the victim. He actually told people we had a relationship that he did not wish to pursue. He did that to imply that I was like a one-night stand kind of a thing, and that once we did it, that he didn't, I was boring. He called me so many things, but what he also, he did the whole love bombing thing. The whole time I was saying, leave me alone, I'm going through too much, I don't want a relationship. And all of my friends were saying, wow, he's really hot, man, he drives a Saab, and he's a university professor, and he's got a law degree, and PhD, wow. Well, he's also an avoidant personality disorder, antisocial, but anyway, so he totally love bombed me, even though I kept saying, no, 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 no. And one thing a woman named Marilee and I agreed on was that he's like a flame, and we are like little moths, and we are little moths being drawn into that flame, and we will be turned to ash. And one thing, although he seemed to stay friends with more of the women that he screwed over, like they seemed to stay friends with him, but he raped me. And then he would do weird things, like he would call me on the phone, and so then I would remember the love bombing. I mean he totally created a trauma bond in me, totally, intentionally. So he would call, and then I would remember the fellow who had spent about 2 months love bombing me, and so then I would take his call, and then he would like act weird, like be weird, like the sound of my voice or whatever was just like ugh. So like for this since 2008, the end of 2007, I took his ethics class in August of 2007. So since August of 2008, when he started hating me after he raped me, since 2008, he has been totally stalking me and creating a trauma bond in me for the remainder of the years until just in January or February and of this year, 2026. While he was studying the damage that he was doing to me, how it was impacting me, he had a partner, a woman partner, who helped him to lie about me. He introduced her to me as a conflict resolutionist, and she was going to resolve the conflict that he and I were having. And I was hopeful about that. But all the while, he was seeming to think that I wanted a relationship and he didn't, and that was the conflict. That was the conflict. We had a relationship, a one-night stand, and I wanted the relationship to continue. This is how he was playing it, and I was mad and upset because he wouldn't have the relationship with me. Now, I've already said, if the rat or the mouse being experimented on by the scientist, if that's a relationship between that research scientist and the mouse or the rat, I don't consider that a relationship, but that's the kind of relationship we had. And I said no. I kept saying no, but I couldn't stop him. I could not stop him. So in that way, a trauma bond was created that is a horrible, horrible feeling to have, a horrible thinking, like it's being in prison. It's being in prison. And through the whole time, he has been planting horrible things into my mind, hating me, hating on me, hating everything about me. So, okay, if you hate me so much, why do you keep emailing me? Why do you keep calling me? Why don't you just leave me the fuck alone the way I want you to? That was my question. Now, why do we need a conflict resolution specialist? Oh, I know why. Because he wouldn't leave me alone, and I was on benzodiazepines trying to deal with Ambien and the mind fucking from the multicare, and putting up with the misogynist, sexist, wet t-shirt seeking jackasses from JP Morgan Chase in the small world that I was in. And I started drinking, trying to cope. And I would drink like my mom could not. When I went into the hospital in 2012, my mom and sister went through the house and threw out all the empty wine bottles. My mom said she could not believe all the wine bottles there. I mean, that's how I tried to kill myself. I took a whole bunch of benzodiazepines and drank a whole bunch of wine, thinking that I would fall asleep and die in my sleep. And man, that messed me up. Oh my God. Oh my God. if my mom was alive, she would be here talking about it too. She was beside herself on what to do to help me. She knew she couldn't stop them, so she tried, but she couldn't, and the police weren't doing anything. They kept different ones, just like here in Green Springs. They were saying they didn't have the jurisdiction, and it's always jurisdiction to get rid of the problem. Lawyers are like, oh no, that's out of my jurisdiction. Yeah, okay. Meaning you're lazy ass, just like the money launderers. You don't really have to work. You just go hang out and have connections and money launder for drugs, right? So so I started flipping blowing up his email, and I couldn't say I hate you, I hate you, I hate you, or I'm gonna kill you, I'm gonna kill you, I'm gonna kill you. So instead, and I type like 85 words a minute, and I just started blowing up his emails like with streams and streams of I love you, I love you. I'd like make a paragraph of I love you, I love you, I love you in an email, and then I would copy it and just paste it into this long ass email, and then send it, and then I'd do another one and send it, and I was doing that to all his emails because that's what he did to me. He overloaded me. He took control, and it wasn't hard to do back then when I was so fucked up after the Ambien and all those drugs that jackass at Multicare had been dumping into me. And then I was on benzodiazepines. In fact, I told him, no, I've been so messed up on these prescription drugs. I mean, I told him all of the reasons to leave me alone. And so, yeah, I would sit there at night and just drink and copy and paste and blow up all his emails. I would turn up the Jesus songs full blast, and I would call all of his phone numbers, and I would sing. I can't sing. I cannot. I can sing Rainbow Connection to my niece, okay? But I cannot sing. Yeah, I sing anyway. But I blew up all his voicemails singing songs, leaving messages, singing songs on all his voicemails every night. Plus, Marcia, my therapist, who was under the impression that my issue was childhood issues. In fact, when he started pursuing me, I took copies of all of the websites and things that he had, because he had more than one. So I took copies from the internet of who he was. And she said, my God, he and they are into everything. And she thought he was a dream come true, just like my friend said. She's like he's like every woman's dream come true. And I'm like, really? Really? I was not seeing it that way. So when I was doing that, she had a stroke. Poor Marcia. She had a stroke and had to retire. But she had given me permission to call her voicemail and leave messages, because our time together was just not enough. Once he raped me and then started like pointing out everything that he hated about me, it just blew my mind. It just absolutely, I mean, the way he raped me, blew my mind. I mean, I've never even really talked in detail about it, but one of the women said that she thinks he records it, sells it on the dark web. I don't know. What's it matter at this point? They've all drugged me through the mud anyway. It's like, whatever. But yeah, so I was blowing up Marcia's voicemail too. I was like, I don't know why they did that. Why do they keep doing this to me? And blah, blah, blah. Oh, where? And then I started the whole process of sending 10,000 emails. One of the documents that they had submitted somewhere, maybe it was a King County, or maybe I don't remember if it was to the police or what, he and that stupid partner of his Miss Ethan Allen turned credentialed through all of his institutions, through all his own self-made institutions. Um, man, something they submitted had like she sends thousands of emails. Now that if the circumstances were normal circumstances, I would not have minded the restraining order. If they just said, "Man, she's blowing up our email," and whoops, oh, hold on, I dropped you there. So anyway, if they would have said she's blowing up, I didn't even know her. I didn't know her. I'd never seen her before in my life. The first day that they brought me to court, she had her head covered with a legal size file folder, so I couldn't see her face. Even though in the summons she had said that I was stalking them at the places where they live, where they worked, and where they socialized. That is absolutely. They lived in Seattle. I didn't live in Seattle. And I was busy working. I was a commission loan originator. I had to be on the go working, and I served Oregon, California, Oregon, and all of Washington State, the credit union members. So I was on the go. I didn't have time for that. I had to make a living, and they were tripping me up from making a living, and so there's just not enough time. So okay, if he would have gotten a restraining order just saying, hey, she's blowing up my, and I had tried to report to the police. I tried to report to the police what multicare was doing. I tried to get the police to take a report when somebody came into my house and left a note next to my makeup mirror. And the police is like, well, I don't see that note as being threatening. And I'm like, somebody came into my locked home and put that tablet there with that note on it, and I live here by myself. That's threatening. That's scary. I don't know where that cop party's at or what, kind of lifestyle that cop leads, but my house was not a party house. In fact, when I became single, I told my immediate neighbors, I said, this is not going to become a party house over here. And if you ever see a car spending the night at my house, you call the cops, because no cars are spending the night at my house. Although they got to know my friend Debbie, who wasn't even my friend after all. She was in it with them. She was a plant, but they got to know her and her car, so that was okay. I had a guest room and she could spend the night. So, but if but so as it was, nobody was taking me seriously, and there was no way for me to protect myself. By the time I decided I needed to get surveillance and and try to keep my perimeter safe, the cost was too much for me to afford. But nonetheless, so my only way of protecting myself was to do what I was doing, and that was blowing him up the way that he was blowing me up. Now he can see it any way he wants to, but I didn't rape him. He raped me. I didn't love bomb him. He loved bombed me. I told him to leave me alone. And when he wanted to have me do that, I said no. So that right there already established who was the predator and who was the victim. So, oh yeah, in his 34-page report or whatever that he just wrote, somebody was already trying to sell on Dr. Grande's one of his things that, well, when a predator is trying to defend himself, doesn't that mean that he's a victim too? No, it does not. No, that's a predator trying to keep his ass out of jail. That's a predator in his situation trying to create some stupid ass legacy he thinks he wants to be Jung or Sartre. Sartre. Jean-Paul Sartre. You'll love that, right? Yeah. That was how you pronounce that name is how he hated on a friend of mine, because he always has to criticize and hate on people. So some people can live with that. I'm not gonna, but if he would have just requested a restraining order based on the fact that I was blowing up his emails, blowing up his voicemail so that he wasn't able to do his business. Too bad. He was interrupting my business, but I would not have fought it. But when he made up all this bullshit about stalking him and had this woman I didn't even know say I was stalking her too, it was like that's such bullshit. I'm not even a jealous person, so I could care less. After he raped me and I was going still like, what the fuck? He met with me, not with me just showing up. And when he met me, because he said so much to me when he was doing it, I was like, I mean, I just can't even. I can't even. But anyway, when he met with me, he was walking with a woman. And I'm sure he said to her, pretend you're not walking with me or she'll get you, or something like that. But because as soon as they got closer to me, she like just sort of wandered off, like they hadn't been walking together. I could have cared less. I'm not the kind who's like, you bitch, what are you doing with my man? It's like, if he wants to be with somebody, I don't care. So, and that's part of, the way he has tried to make me hate myself too, is like putting forth like what he thinks is, whatever, smart, sexy, whatever. Sexy is a big deal. The big deal. I don't have to be sexy. It's not my goal in life. So, but the fact that it so it's something, and I think it might have been in that case, but he had said that I had sent like hundreds of emails, and then there was a line through it and it was like thousands, and then there was a line through that and it was like 9,672. Like he had one of his chumps sit there and count all of them, and the number was just growing and growing. Probably I type 85 words a minute, so even drunk. So he deserved it. He deserved worse. He really deserves to be in prison. So, but so do those multi-care people, and so do the money launderers at Chase. So nobody goes to prison. Nobody goes to prison. So after you know having him in my life, even in this most negative way, for so long. I mean, the trauma bond was created pretty much right away. And I don't think that there is enough therapy in the world to help somebody get through a trauma bond. And so I have done a lot to try to help myself. I've done a lot to try. That's why I'm even still living where I am. It's a miracle I'm not homeless, and thanks to my son. And my son has paid the price too for his helping me. They've made him pay the price too, which makes me very mad. But nobody goes to jail. Nobody goes to jail. So the way these women here were like frothing, they were like panting over him, like he's taken some kind of practice, some kind of voice hypnotism, some kind of voice control, and like in 5 words he can have somebody hypnotized. And he says it's not magic, but if I would call him a warlock, I would say bullshit. He does too exercise magic. So I rely heavily on Jesus. But fortunately, whatever came down in January with I related to the highway patrol going through my phone, maybe and blocking some things, um, or at least identifying it, and maybe there still is the FBI situation going on. But these videos for me are very therapeutic, and I can watch my own recovery. I don't trigger and start, and I almost did, because I used to, like early on when I was really under heavy attack, and with Virgil and Roger on Facebook, trying to manipulate me. Roger, because his wife worked at Chase, and Virgil, because he was hanging out with the multicare crowd, and his, his wife was connected with the Rotary, and the multicare doctor decided, when he found out I was in the Rotary, he even like went, oh, the Rotary, and that he was going to use that avenue, the Rotary, to help take me out, and he did. He did use the Rotary, and people did not realize. They were saying, um, one of the guys from the Sunrise Rotary was saying that I was looking for wedding bands for the doctor. God knows. And and that's what they were spreading around town. When in fact, even I told the crazy man that I was trying to get back together with my ex-husband, and he was very mean, and he said, "You're not married anymore." And that's the kind, it's that's how mean he was. And but I was married to somebody for 28 years that I knew for like 37 years, and the whole idea that we were divorced was shocking. Even though I'm the one who filed for the divorce, it was shocking. And I ultimately believed, because he told me I won't make it without him. And I thought, I'm going to make it without him. I'm going to make it without him. And then he will see that I can, and he will see that I love him. I love him, and we would get back together. He would wait. But one of his coworkers started prancing women from his church. Not my husband. My husband didn't go to church, but Lawrence did. And my husband didn't even like that guy. And anyway, Lawrence was introducing him to all these single women. So finally, well, after I was raped, it was like I'd been defiled. I mean, my ex didn't think so. You know what I mean? He would have gotten back together, but so much had happened that it was like, I don't even know how to dice this up. I don't even know. And I was still recovering from the Ambien. So, um, yeah. But like I said, there's not enough hours in the day for me to recover from the 22 years that these people beat me down. But what I wanted to say, and now it's getting quite lengthy, what I want to say is that being over the trauma bond, and it has not taken long to get over it, because whatever the CHP did, or whatever somebody who they gave access to my phone did, and my laptop, whatever those communications from someone was, stopped. And to me, that was a great disconnect. It was a great disconnect. And now it's like, yeah, there's been, like I said in the video of somebody's not getting the memo, there has been other gaslighting related to this, but to me, that gaslighting is from people who are inconsequential to my life. I don't care. I don't care. In that regard, I'm like my old self. It's like, oh, gaslighting, who cares? Um, but the serious attack, I think, has been stopped. But when the person was at my door the other day, and in the peek hole, it was a woman I didn't know, and she had a paper in her hand, or papers. I could just see through peepholes, just holding something white, tablet or something. Oh, so I can still trigger, and I can ruminate. I did have the ruminations under control, but right now, because of that big triggering, I'm still kind of ruminating about some things. But the reason I'm here is because this is part of my therapy, and I wanted to share that the trauma bond has been broken. So in that regard, my mind has been set free. And he announced in December, I think it was, of last year. I think it was last year when he stopped his blog talk, um, that they were going to shift gears and stop being violent. It's nice that you can just flip it on and off like that, right? But clearly, over what's gone on last year, up until more recently this year, not the triggering from last week, but some things into January, not everyone has gotten the memo. So I guess those things take time. It took them time to set in order for me to be hanging out there in front of every fucking gangster across the country, courtesy of, I'm sure, Mike from Chase and the doctor, and I'm sure they were related. But anyway, there's a lot to it. I'm also posting posts, so of pictures of different points in time where I have been being harassed, and the type of evidence that I'm posting of my harassment is not just what I'm posting during all this kind of harassment of me was going on, had been going on almost every single day of my life from the time I got in that accident and chose Geico to handle the insurance matter for me way back in July of 2004. And I had over 33,000 views of my WordPress blog that the Seattle court ordered taken down. And those people, some of the commenters said their insurance company did to them what they saw in some of the things that was being done to me. And one of the things that Geico did was spy on me in my home through technology, and it was obvious. And they were sharing their interpretation of what was going on in my home with that doctor and his circle, which ultimately included Virgil, who pretended to me for many years on Facebook that he was a theologian, a mentor, and now he calls himself a philosopher. And he says philosophers cannot lie. But if that's true, then what about when they're psychoanalytical, deep thinking, intellectual rapists lying to themselves? I guess that would be my question. But right now, my point was to say that to let you know that this is therapy for me, and the trauma bond is broken, and now I speak about it in whatever way I feel like is safe for me to say it without I mean, I don't know. I haven't read. There's so much evidence. I'll be posting posts. I'll be posting pictures that I've been taken over the years to show people how I was being spoken to, things that were being done to gaslight me and to mess with me, and I'll be giving some narration in each post so that if anyone is interested, they can see, they can hear from me what was going on during that time. So thank you for being here, and thank you for being part of or sharing with me in my recovery.